because we do have those that slip through the cracks, okay? We do have, so they won't necessarily reach out for help. And the examples that we give, and I'm going to give you a perfect one. You may have a family that comes back from overseas, okay? That is a husband, spouse, wife, and they have kids, and they get back to San Antonio, and the husband deploys and leaves, leaving the spouse, the female spouse here, who has never driven a car before. Welcome to the world of San Antonio and learning how to drive. Can you imagine? It's bad enough when we put our teens out there, right? But consider an overseas spouse, a local national spouse, that has never driven a car before. So imagine that on top of all the other things that are going on. And that's just one of the issues, okay? So behavior changes new to the civilian world. I will tell you, when a military family comes back overseas, it's culture shock. Yep, everybody, it's culture shock. Overseas, when a military family goes into a movie theater, they stand at attention because the national anthem plays prior to that movie going. So the minute they get in there, they stand at attention, that national anthem plays, and then they sit down and enjoy the movie. We get back from overseas, and the first thing my kids go, wait a minute, we get in Santikos, boy, and they stand up. Oh, we don't have to? No, you can sit down. You don't have to do that. But again, that's that culture shock. It's not knowing it, okay? Same thing for radio. We have what we call Armed Forces Network, which allows our families to have the good music. We have all the great music that's going on, all the local things, all the great programs that you guys watch, they watch over there. But there's no commercials. So what they play is Magic School Bus. So you see, they play Magic School Bus rhymes. So the kids all know those Magic School Bus jingles. But when you come back to San Antonio and you turn on the music and you start hearing all this talking about this and this and this and this, Mom, what are they doing? They're trying to pay the bills. How does that work? So see, all of these factors fall in, okay? And I will tell you, and we're going to talk about it later, a little bit later, about our American citizens that are overseas, okay? So they're new to the civilian world. Overseas, when you have families overseas, and I use my personal experience. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bop you. I use our personal experience. Overseas, when we stayed at Japan, we were in Okinawa, Japan. The kids were younger. They were still elementary school age at that point in time, okay? We could let them out till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. They could do their thing, and they would be perfectly fine. So they're out running around, having fun, doing what kids do, playing in the sand, playing in the dirt, all those great things, learning life. They come back stateside, and what do? You can't do that. You can't do that. Or overseas there, I could tell you who my neighbor was to my left, to my right, 3 streets over and 3 streets back. I could tell you who everybody was because that was the family over there. Here, I can tell you who was on my right side, I can tell you who's my left side, front, and back, but I cannot tell you who's 3 doors down. And think about it. Overseas, you're going to have those that are all military. Come back here to San Antonio, and they move into a house that there's no one military. So they start to feel withdrawn, a little bit different. So all of these are things that lead into some things for us, okay? So some of the things our military students face, and we'll talk about these in depth in a little bit. Separations due to deployment. Here at Joint Base San Antonio, we do deploy. We do not have a higher deployment as we do at Fort Hood or some of those issues, okay? So you may find as caregivers that deployment is huge, okay? We do have several sections. We do have what we, for lack of a better term, call secret squirrels. And they're laughing at it because they know what I'm talking about. We have families, okay, and what I mean by that is we have military members that work on the installation, that work behind a locked door, that when they walk into the door, they have to stick their phones in, and they turn it, and it's in a thing. The rest of the day, they walk out. They're not allowed to use the phones or whatever unless it's for professional use. And I will tell you, the spouse of that person does not know where they work on the installation and what they do. We do have those units here. So imagine that as a spouse. Imagine that as a spouse. To know that, you know what, my wife works on Lackland, but I really don't know what she does. And she can never answer her phone during the day, so, y'all feeling me? You see what kind of other things we're looking at? It happens. So when you have a family that starts Well, I really don't know. The possibility is it might not, they might not know. Okay, so just take that into consideration sometimes. But be very aware of that. Because again, all of those things feed into other things that create other problems that keep going, and we keep going, and we keep moving in the other direction, right? So it's all of these little things that we want you to be situationally aware of. Adjusting the school curriculum, all of those things. Garden reserves. I have the perfect example to talk about garden reserves. I have a young child right now that the dad got activated. So he's going on what we call Title 10 orders, meaning that he is now eligible for full service active duty benefits. Okay, normally he's a guard, so he only goes two times. You know the status, right? Well, this child now, or this parent, because he's being deployed and he's put on these active duty orders, he went from making $175,000 a year to making $35,000 a year. The family has now sold their house because they cannot afford to live while he is deployed. And they have moved in with the grandparents, who is in another school district. So the school district that the child is registered in wants to keep him because they want to do the right thing. They want to make sure that we're good. And now we have an issue because Texas laws and all, but that's one of the things our office is working through. So again, just something for you guys to be aware of. So that instant military family, and you got to remember for your Guard and Reserve families, we have a huge component here. So you may be dealing with a Guard and Reserve family that you really don't know is a Guard and Reserve family because they don't really identify themselves. They live far away, or they may live right here. So again, it's being able to know who it is what, and the family dynamic changed 2 to 1 parent or extended family members. Meaning that, you know what, at a drop of a dime, you can go from dual parent to 1 parent because the parent shipped out in the middle of the night. And what does that do? Because grandma's now coming in, grandma's another generation to help raise this child, who I don't believe the way you're raising this child, and you know, we're gonna have these issues. So now we have more generational issues on top of everything else going on, and now dad's deployed and dad's going to a place where he can't talk to me. So, you know, now I have all of these other things, and oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? How am I going to fix this? How am I going to make this work? Because now I have 3 children that I have to get to this, and this, or I have to get to volleyball and basketball, and one of them is EFMP. So, oh my gosh, I have to totally spend time with that child because I can't, that child is, that's my child, I gotta take care of it. But in the same sense, how do you make it happen? What's my support system? You're the support system. We're the support system. We're that safety net, and that's what has to happen. Okay? We've talked a little bit about the military child. All right, we brought in the attributes. We kind of talked about their educational piece, a little bit of things like that. When you guys first walked into the room, I asked you to do a couple of things on a Post-it note. Do you remember? Does anybody remember what the first one was? Talk to me. What was it? Say it out loud. A person you always count on or can count on, right? That was not family, correct? All right. Take a minute right now and think about who you wrote down on that piece of paper. Okay? Think about that piece of paper. Okay? What was number 2?
A group you're a part of.
A group you're a part of. A group or support system that you're a part of, correct? All right? Think about what you wrote on that paper. All right? Take a minute and think about it. Okay? What was number 3?
Place that you're comfortable.
Your happy place, your peaceful place, right? Right? So those were the 3 things that we said focus on, right? Was there a 4th? No. It was just put your name on it, right? Okay, so take a moment, close your eyes really quickly for me, and think about those 3 things in your life. Really reflect on those. Okay? And what they mean to you. Okay? All right, now. You're now part of the U.S. military. You've just received orders. Here's all those things that are important to you.
What?
You start all over again. You start all over again. Now, let's talk about transitions and being in the military. The most dreaded question that you could ask a military child is, where are you from? Am I right? And the answer to that, this came straight from the mouths of babes, not just mine. This came from a survey that was done. The most dreaded question that you could ask a military child is, where are you from? And the reason being is because they're from everywhere. Do you want to know where I was born? Or do you want to know where I grew up or stayed the longest? Do you want to know where I visit home the most? Do you want to know, what do you want to know? Because it's all a part of me. So to ask a military child where you're from, their response normally is going to be, I'm from everywhere. What do you want to know about me? We have American children that are American citizens that are born overseas that have never stepped foot on American soil. They're from everywhere. So they bring those things to the table. So that's an important thing for us. So some of the common transitional issues that our military students face in the education realm as well as social, we're going to talk about social and emotional in a second, but in the educational realm, it's crazy what these kids have to look at, okay? Even from one side of Joint Base San Antonio, because here at Joint Base, and we're kind of unique here because we have the 3 big installations, right? We have families that are stationed at Lackland that live over in Church-Cibolo, all right? So they attend Church-Cibolo ISD. They decide, you know what, this commute is just way too much, okay? So we're just going to move to Lackland, or we're going to move over on north side ISD, all right? The districts are different. The requirements are different. What's this and what's that over there is two different, they're on 2 different schedules. If they move from Randolph Field ISD to Lackland ISD, Randolph's on an 8-period schedule. Lackland's on a 8, the block schedule. Yes, thank you. I went, ooh, block. They're on the block schedule. So imagine that and trying to figure out life. Now, imagine that, let's take it outside the states. Go to the next state over, because we all know state education systems are all completely different, right? Just like your systems, your worlds are different from one state to the next. Being able to get Medicaid and all of those other things are different from one state to the next. Okay? So now you do country to country. It's crazy what some of our families do go through. So these are just some of the things that you'll see. And we're going to talk about those, and I'm going to move the trash can back out of the way now. But we're going to talk about those a little bit more because I'm going to give you some tips and some laws that are in place that help our military families with that so that you as guiders and supporters and advocates can help articulate for us as well. Okay? So all of those are different transition issues, but like I said, we're going to talk about. So social and emotional. We were having a conversation during the break, and yes, the things that some of our military students are going through are the same as some of your children that you're dealing with that aren't military. So you're seeing that common denominator, okay? So it's very applicable in the realm of a lot of different kids and not just military students. But it's being situationally aware of the specific unique needs to our military students that becomes important. So for social and emotional, these kids carry baggage. They do. Every kid carries baggage. But these kids, in retrospect, carry a lot of baggage. You know, it's nothing worse than waking up in the middle of the night, getting a phone call, answering the phone, having a conversation because your spouse is overseas. A bomb goes off. You know what it is because you're prior military. The phone slams down, gotta go, see you later, and not hearing from them for the next 48 to 72 hours. It's hard. It's not easy because you don't know, okay? And remember those secret squirrels that we were talking about? Imagine that, remember? And that's just local, right? So anyway, the culture shock, the missing old friends. When we were PCSing, the kids moved. And they moved, it wasn't a choice. We didn't have a choice, which they still don't now. But now social media is a little bit more prevalent, so it's a little bit easier to stay in touch. We didn't have, you know, Snapchat and FaceTime and all those things when we were moving around. We had snail mail, okay? And we were getting to the point where, they were just starting the video chats and those type of things, okay? And so for them to be able to see their father, who's on the other side of the world, was relayed, and you'd get the, y'all remember those, right? where you're listening and you hear the echo 3 or 4 times before it gets to you, and you're like, what did he really say? Okay, yeah, yep, you got it, babe, yep. Those are the type of things our families face every day. Our families face the prospect of, not seeing a baby born. Coming home and the child's already 8 or 9 months old. So think about those type of things. But again, missing those old friends. There's always ways to take care of them. Just like you guys give abilities for our families to adapt and become emotionally stable for them as well. What we did for our girls was when they moved, every time we moved, we do a Build-A-Bear. And that Build-A-Bear was named after their best friend from where they are. And it has their voice or other things, attributes of that child. So those are just some of the things that we did, but those are some of the things that our families, we try to talk to them. Emotional, all of these are common issues that every child comes into. So again, it's about being situationally aware that within military it might be a little bit different and unique, okay?